God damn it, Peg, I swore under my breath. But why? I admit I saw it coming from a mile away and kind of knew the answer, but actually witnessing it was a whole different matter. Honestly, it hurts like hell. And she was going to cheat with this asshole? No kidding? What the hell did he have that I didn't? Besides being younger than me, handsome, rich, athletic, famous, outgoing, he really had nothing to offer. The point is that Peggy and I were married, and that meant certain vows. If she wanted to date other guys, she should have asked for a divorce or an open marriage or something similar. Enough. There is no excuse for cheating in my life. That's why I seethed with righteous anger as I watched her slip out the side door in the company of the tall, muscular family lawbreaker. Yes, I knew this guy. Even with his fake beard hiding his face, there was no mistaking this chalky-like image. It was Randy the Horse Meller. No doubt about it. He needed to dress up in Mac's fucking truck costume to actually hide his beefy physique. Peggy's Catwoman-themed outfit was even less camouflaged considering she opted for a slutty version of Halle Berry. In my opinion, this is the least sexy embodiment of the famous supervillain, but her arms are most openly exposed. There was more to it than leather pants, a bra, and cat ears. Before closing the door behind him, Blackbeard Randy quickly scanned the area to make sure no one had noticed their exit. Apparently, he was satisfied that they had indeed managed to escape unnoticed. Of course, he was wrong, but he could hardly be blamed. After all, he was looking out for Ben Beaufort, not a deadly ninja dressed all in black. Besides, Peggy probably told him that her beloved husband was away on a business trip this Halloween. Obviously, she was also wrong. As soon as the door closed, I sprang into action and followed the vile couple. True, not for long, the damn door was locked. They were leaving. My sinister ninja skills were thwarted by a $20 lock. How awkward is that? Well, if you can't go straight, you just have to go around. So I started making my way through the building to the front door. This turned out to be easier said than done, as the main hall was filled with happy and drunk people in colorful Monster Mash costumes. I was barely halfway through it when my progress was stopped when something red, green, and smelling like an exploding brewery grabbed me and hugged me. "Who are you, and why aren't we having fun?" "Let's dance and have fun," the drunken Poison Ivy muttered inaudibly, whose secret identity was local real estate agent Marge Alling. Not just no, but hell no. "I'm Death Incarnate, and I'm married too," I growled in my best Christian Bale voice and pulled away from her embrace. "Ben?" she exclaimed in surprise. "Ben Beaufort? But Peg is here. I'm really sorry, I shouldn't have said—" "I wasn't here, Marge," I said, looking her straight in the eyes with my deepest ninja stare. "You didn't see me. Please." "Well, of course it's good, whatever you say. But Ben—" "Yes?" "If Randy doesn't kill you or hurt you too badly, you might want to, hang out later. Come, let's have some fun." I quickly turned around and disappeared back into the crowd, Shadow Warrior style. No, I didn't run. Ninjas are completely fearless and never run away. I just hurried in the right direction. When I finally made my way through the crowd into the parking lot, I realized that even the terrible strength of a deadly warrior was not enough. The birds escaped. The empty space where Randy's car was. All I could do was stare into the moonlit night. Somewhere out there, my wife is in the process of destroying our marriage, and I have no idea where the villains have gone to complete their unholy alliance. The hidden GPS tracker in Peggy's car was as useful as Lindsay Lohan's brain, since the fugitives were in Horse's car. I cursed myself for not installing GPS on Randy's car. "Great job," I muttered to no one in particular as I walked to my rental car. Maybe I should have come dressed as Mike Hammer instead. At least I would have a gun to shoot myself with. Lost in the despair of the moment, my mind returned to that fateful day when I first learned of the dishonest intentions of my beloved wife. That day, as I was rummaging around in my bedroom, hunting for a clean pair of socks, I overheard Peggy and Hannah gossiping outside in the garden. "You won't believe the size of his assets, Peg," Hannah said impatiently. "And yet, He can continue for centuries. It was amazing. They both chuckled loudly like a couple of idiots. I was just about to stick my head out the window and announce my presence with a loud boom, but what Peggy said next stopped me. You know, she sighed, I could seriously flirt the way you say. But you have Ben. Don't you do it the same way? Of course we have sex, just not as mind-blowing as the one you describe. I mean, we've been married 20 years to yell so loudly. It is quite natural that over time some of the passion goes away. I love him dearly and can't imagine a better husband than Ben, but I would just like to try it once, just once, with someone else. I want, and am afraid, to have a love affair, said Peg. This is a good decision. You need to have an affair, Peg, Hannah blurted out. Not in this life. Jesus Christ, Hannah, you know how jealous Ben is. He would immediately divorce me, perhaps even shoot me and my lover, but I still want to live. If I found out, then maybe, Hannah answered. But who said he would find out? You just have to be very careful and it won't happen and he'll never know about it, right? Peggy didn't respond for several seconds, and I held out hope. But then the bitch Hannah played her dirty role. Randy wants you, Peg. He asked about you a couple of times. Indeed? Peggy asked, too interested. Indeed. He noticed you at the fair and asked me about you. Say the word and I'll arrange a date. Come on, Peg. Life is short. Have fun with him. That was all I heard, because at that moment, 2 more of their friends appeared, and apparently they were not crazy. I quietly left the bedroom with my head filled with new thoughts and emotions. Peggy wanted to change? Peggy? Well, I definitely wasn't going to stop her. In fact, it's even the other way around. In my opinion, the intention to cheat is already a sufficient reason for divorce, so the only person who could stop Peggy from killing our marriage was Peggy herself. And I didn't want to live in a fog of mistrust for years, so I decided to escalate the problem and give it an opportunity. In other words, I was going to give her a rope long enough to hang herself, and then see what happened. Either it will remain true or it will not. And if not, then I would like to have proof as soon as possible. I'll spare you the trivial details of how I installed a spyware bug on Peggy's phone and a GPS tracker in her car. Finally, as part of the plan, I let her know that I would not be able to attend the annual Halloween party this year due to an urgent business meeting. This event was a conscious choice on my part. Halloween is the only time of the year when people have a legal excuse to go out dressed as someone else, making it an ideal time for cheaters to meet without resorting to hotel rooms or deserted areas. As I expected, the 2 bitches saw this as an opportunity they couldn't miss, and Peg made plans to meet Randy at the party. It is needless to add that I was going to be present covertly and catch them in the act. And that was the reason why I was sitting in a rental car, dressed like Kirigi the Scary, and without a damn idea what to do next. After setting up the trap for my wife, I actually handed it over to Randy, gift-wrapped and ready to use. He's probably having sex with her right at this moment. But always remember, the true strength of a shadow warrior is not in his deadly kung fu or destructive weapons. This is his ability to think creatively and turn defeat into a crushing victory. And suddenly it hit me. Peggy has an Achilles heel. Her phone. She may abandon her car to thwart my efforts, but she won't go anywhere without her precious phone. She stores her entire life in this gadget. Calendar, contacts, email, social networks, and much more. It was always on the nightstand when we had sex. It was in the bathroom with her when she went to the toilet, and it was attached to her arm when we were jogging. Her little gadget may be my best ally. I started with the obvious. I called her. There were beeps, but there was no answer. Not that I expected anything different. No one wants to be disturbed during illicit sex, but at least it confirmed that her phone was on. Amazing. Apparently, the ninja gods are on my side. The second stage of my battle strategy was to bring up the tracking page on my phone and activate the Find My Phone feature. A very useful service if you lose your phone or your spouse, but accidentally know her code and password. A few minutes later, I received a map showing her current location in the surrounding area. It was a place I knew well as a child. I started the engine and headed to the indicated location. Lover's Point is a place for lovers. I have to say that Horsebrain looked like a very stylish guy. Rich as hell, but too cheap to even jump into a hotel room to ruin my marriage. Instead, he took Peggy to Lover's Point and most likely planned to have sex with her in the car like some teenager. Not that I'm complaining, mind you. This actually made my task much easier, since I could catch my cheating wife red-handed without breaking into the hotel or trespassing on private property. Just open the car door, take a few pictures of Peggy, and you can go to the lawyer. It was at this moment that I suddenly remembered the third way I could use her phone, my installed spy. I quickly called her again with the hashtag and activation code added. At first, I only heard beeps and clicks, but then the voices of Peggy and Konina came from the speaker. I continued moving towards my intended goal. Voices came from the phone speaker. Oh my God, Hannah wasn't exaggerating. You're huge, Randy. And this is all for you, Plushechka. Plush? Did he just call my wife a honey? I grinned. A crime punishable by death was going on there. No, I did not eavesdrop on them. I was collecting important information. It soon became clear that Horse Manure felt that he could torpedo my marriage. But to my surprise, Peggy spoke as if she had changed her mind. I don't think I can do this, she said in a trembling voice. I really cannot. My mood lifted a little. Doesn't she regret her betrayal? Not too late. Of course, I will still have to punish Konyashka, but maybe I can at least save my marriage. Well, at first it seemed to me that her hesitation was because of our marriage and fidelity, and perhaps she was simply afraid of my revenge when I found out about this. In the end, it doesn't matter to me anymore. She's a bitch who cheats on her beloved husband. The next moment my thoughts went off the rails when Peggy screamed so loudly that she almost blew up the speaker. Oh God! Oh Jesus! That's how my marriage died. Not under the blow of the judge's gavel, but under a barrage of screaming lamentations to the almighty Lord and friends. Amen. Damn it. Soon I finally noticed their car parked several hundred meters ahead on the side of the road near the slope. Everyone has a breaking point, and I think I've finally reached my point. I completely lost all semblance of my ninja cool and floored the accelerator. My rental car was not very powerful, so the speed was not great, but enough for me to ram the horse's car. But judging by the screams, it definitely took the lovers by surprise. As an added bonus, the impact sent their car rolling down the hill until about 100 meters below, when they were stopped rather abruptly by a large tree. I turned off the spy call on Peggy's phone and dialed 911 instead. Operator? I would like to report an accident. Yes, I hit a parked car and the impact sent it down the hill. It seems to me that there is someone in it. No, I can't. My leg is injured. Please send someone. Yes, you guessed it. My leg was fine. But I didn't go down the hill in the dark. Randy's ass could have been kicked another time. I sat back and waited for the paramedics to arrive. A few hours later, I found myself sitting in a small room in a hospital, engaged in a staring game with a sour-faced policeman. I really like your police suit, I said with false praise. It looks almost real. Where did you get it? At Walmart? At work, smart guy, he growled. And you should also notice the baton and handcuffs that come with him. Keep doing the same, and you will be able to try them out. I shut up. Even a deadly and fearless shadow warrior must choose his battles wisely. Seriously? Do you really expect me to believe that you had no idea your wife was having sex with her lover in the car the moment you accidentally hit her and pushed her down the hill? I composed my most sincere expression and repeated my story. As I said, I was looking for my wife, fearing for her safety. I tracked her phone, and I think I was too distracted by the map while driving. I didn't see the car until it was too late. It was dark and there was no lighting. And you didn't know anything about your lover? He sighed. Well, of course I knew, I answered with a smile. Peg and I have an open relationship. Keeps things fresh after years of marriage, you know. This cannot be understood, as they say. I winked at him conspiratorially. He frowned and closed his notebook. Not the notebook, but a real, honest paper, moleskin notebook. Okay, Mr. Beaufort, that's all for now. Thank you for your cooperation, and please stay in town for the next few days. I may have additional questions. I left the annoying company of the law and went to the head nurse's office to inquire about the condition of my slutty wife and horse breath. She wasn't very friendly at first. Am I really not allowed to disclose information about patients, Mr. Buford? Ben Buford at your service. I pulled out my license from one of my secret ninja pockets. I had the same accident as my sister and her boyfriend. Please, I am very worried, and I need at least a little information to reassure my sick mother. We're a close family, you know, and she's terribly upset. Oh, I see. So you are a relative of Margaret Beaufort, she said with a smile. Peggy, yes. Blonde, 6'2", dressed like Catwoman. How is she? Can I see her? Of course, Mr. Buford. Your sister, fortunately, escaped physical trauma, but suffered severe emotional trauma, forcing us to treat her. She got splashed with blood from her fiancé, who was injured, and she seems to be very afraid of blood. That's right, I noted. She is also afraid of blood, but she is also a vegetarian. The nurse sighed and wrote in her journal, I'm so glad to hear that little sister is okay. What about the horse, Randolph? The nurse looked down. Alas, Mr. Mueller was not so lucky. I'm afraid he's lost some of his manhood. The dude lost the upper part of his manhood? I blurted out in amazement. Yes, it seems that this is unfortunately true. We believe that your sister was doing something to him when your car crashed into them, causing him to be seriously injured. Ambulance workers, unfortunately, were unable to find the missing tissue. I tried really hard not to laugh, and the nurse misinterpreted my grimace as grief. Oh, don't despair, Mr. Beaufort. Your friend may no longer be able to produce offspring in the usual way, but this does not mean that he will not be able to become a father. Oh God, it was too much. If I don't laugh soon, I'll have a brain hemorrhage. I did my best to apologize. And sorry, nurse. Too much information. I need some fresh air. Please forgive me. I stopped and ran to the door. No problem, Mr. Beaufort. I'm sorry for the bad news. I heard her comforting words as I rushed through the lobby. I struggled outside and rounded the corner of the building before bursting into a fit of laughter. It was too good. Only $400 deductible for front dents on my rental car. 5 minutes later, I was back at the hospital and headed to Peggy's room, my eyes still puffy from laughing. She seemed to be sleeping, but when I touched her hand, she immediately opened her eyes. "Oh, Ben!" she screamed and hugged me tightly. "I'm so sorry, my love." I held her tightly to me for a while, stroking her hair. "It's okay," I said softly. "But what happened? I thought you were at the Halloween party tonight." I was, but I felt sick and wanted to go home, so Randy offered me a ride. On the way, we got into a car accident. In the place of lovers? Well, yes. Randy had some work to do along the way and had to stop. I couldn't believe she was still lying. How stupid does she think I am? We were married, damn it. She should have known me better. I decided to play along with her a little. Never mind, Peg. The only thing that matters is that you are okay. I have to go and thank Randy for keeping you safe. He's being treated in the West Wing. He's much worse off than you. Peggy looked concerned and seemed genuinely concerned about Horse Manure's well-being. Yes, the marriage is definitely over. And what happened to him? She asked. Apparently it's a little shorter now. I giggled. Peggy stared at me in horror. Somehow, during the accident, he damaged part of his manhood, and the ambulance doctors could not find the missing part. She put her hands to her mouth, and I continued. Darling, don't worry. The doctor said that his life is not in danger. I'm sure everything will be fine with him. Isn't that right, buddy? I left Peggy alternating between hysterical crying and vomiting. I was disappointed in her. I really thought she was a devout vegetarian. Walking towards the exit, I stopped in Randy's room. He didn't look very good, which lifted my spirits even more. The entire lower half of his body was bandaged, and he was hooked up to several IVs and other scary hospital shit. Hello, Randy. Like a head? Mr. Beaufort, he said with a slight grin. How may I serve you? Look, let's not beat around the bush, okay? The thing is, earlier this evening you had sex with my wife. A gentleman would never say that, he said with a grin that would normally drive me crazy. Listen, Randy, I got it. You were too full of hormones and lost your head. This could happen to anyone. I'm glad you understand, Mr. Beaufort, he said, somewhat puzzled. Of course I understand, Randy. And I see no reason why this minor incident should knock our heads together. I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. Beaufort. Life is too short to keep butting heads over little things. I understand. But why do you always mention the head? Randy asked. Oh, crap. Didn't they tell you? They didn't tell me what? Sorry, Randy. Looks like you've lost your head. But I heard you still have a lot of extra centimeters. No, no, no! This can't be true, he exclaimed and began to grab the bandages like crazy. Since Randy seemed busy now, I decided to leave. I'm going home, Randy. Happy Halloween. On the way out, I came across the head nurse, who looked at me intently. I must ask you to refrain from visiting other patients, Mr. Beaufort. You seem to be a bad influence on them. Maybe it would be better if you leave the premises immediately. To calm your sister down, we just had to chain her to the bed. Purely on impulse, I grabbed her head and pulled her towards me, stretched it out, kissing her deeply and passionately. After which she remained standing with a reddened face and looking at me with wild ease. She looked like she was either going to say something or slap me. But at that moment, Randy started screaming at the top of his lungs. I think he finally took off those bandages. As the nurses rushed into Randy's room with an assortment of syringes, I quietly walked out the front door into the cold October night. By this point, I had witnessed the destruction of my marriage, avenged my wounded pride, and humiliated a bad horse. Not too little for a few hours of work. But the night was still in full swing. I was still dressed in a cold ninja suit, and I still had an unpaid bill to Hannah for helping my wife cheat on me. Oh yes, and Halloween isn't over yet. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.